Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Kim, a fairly average mum, and today I'm filming another Get Ready With Me story time. So let's get cracking. Hiya, so I thought I'd film another one of these. There's loads of stories that I want to tell you. Honestly, it's been a wild and varied life, so it's quite a lot of stories I want to tell you. But also, it gives me a chance to put on my makeup and just sit down and concentrate on something else. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I thought I'd do this. So obviously no makeup on at the moment. So I'm going to put some moisturiser on, right? So today I'm using this Ren moisturiser. I need to use it up because I've had it for quite a while, you know. So last time when I was talking about these, I'm shaking it in case it's separated. Last time I did one of these, I was talking about getting things in boxes, and a couple of people asked, what do you mean boxes, right? So the boxes that I get these in are like monthly subscription boxes, so like Glossy Box, Rocker Box, Birch Box, Look Incredible, things like that. So I don't go out and buy hardly any of these products. They just come in those subscription boxes. So likewise, this came in a subscription box, but I think it came near the beginning of the year. So I want to use it up before it, you know, goes out of date. So yeah, let me use this. Here we go. Now, I haven't actually opened this one. I must have two of these because I have been using one of them. So this must be one I haven't used yet. So maybe this didn't come at the beginning of the year. So it's quite thick. I like Ren. It's a really good make. So it's nice to try in my subscription boxes. So anyway, there's that one. What's it called? Evercalm Global Protection Day Cream. So thank goodness for that, because the last one I put on, people told me that's supposed to go on at night. So, but because I didn't look at it, because I didn't look at it with my glasses on, I didn't realise that. So yeah, anyway, this is definitely a day cream, so thank goodness for that. So today I'm going to tell you a story about when the school burnt down. Well, that might be a slight exaggeration. When the school were on fire. Okay, right, so back in the day when I was a kid, and in this area, there used to be a 3-school system. So it was I mean, I know a lot of people still have 3 school systems, but it wasn't infants and juniors and then seniors. Which is what my kids were in initially. It was first school, middle school, and then what we used to call grammar school. But it wasn't a grammar school, it was a comprehensive. Do you know what I mean? Right. Anyway, right, so those were the schools you went to. So you went to the first school from ages 4 until you were 9. Then you went to the middle school from you being 9 to 13, and then you went to the grammar school. It wasn't, like I say, a grammar school, it were comprehensive from 13 to 16. And that was the school system here when I was a kid, right? So my first school was lovely. It was a teeny weeny little school. It's been pulled down now because it were obviously very old. They built bungalows there, I think, now. But anyway, it were a lovely school. I really liked it. There were only one teacher I didn't like, Mrs. Williamson. I've told anybody who's watched this for a while will know about Mrs. Williamson. Anyway, right, so I loved that first school. It was lovely. You know, it was just such a cute little school. Everything about it were cute, you know, apart from Mrs. Williamson. So anyway, right, I'd gone to that one. When I went to the middle school, right, just let me put this next bit on. I'll show you what I'm putting on. So again, I'm trying to use up, look, all finger marks on top of this. Shocking. It's because I put it on after I put my moisturiser on. Right, now this I got, it's a YSL foundation. I got it, I think, in Look Incredible, my secret box. Anyway, I realised last time that it were nearly run out. So I thought, I'm going to use it up. Right, I am going to use it up. So I'm using a water egg that's a Real Techniques one that I also got in a subscription box. And this foundation looks like this. It is a bit light for me, but like I say, I'm going to use it up so I can, you know, finish something. Right, so, oh God, is there any in it at all now? Yeah, there is a little bit. Right, so when I went to the middle school, it were a sort of a new build. middle school. It had not been around for many years. I think my cousin, who were about 3-4 years older than me, had been one of the first years to ever go there. Yeah, so we sort of went there, and it were a new build. Now, you bear in mind, this is in the 70s. There were a lot of hippies around in the 70s, and I think an hippie had designed this school, right? Okay, so can you see it's very light on me, but I'm just going to put a thin layer of it on today anyway. So I think some hippies had designed this school, right? Not wrong with hippies, do you know what I mean? Not at all. But when it came to school design, perhaps, you know, it wasn't like the best design for schools. Because one, there were no doors, well, very few doors. There were curtains for every single classroom. Well, you can imagine a classroom full of 30 kids in a bay with 2 other classrooms. If you were trying to do quiet work and the class next door were doing stuff that were quite noisy, you could hear everything they said. Do you know what I mean? So it was very difficult for their teachers, very difficult for us as students or kids to concentrate when the class next door, especially, were making noise, but especially when it might sound like they were doing something or more interesting than you, right? So that was one of the flaws of this school. 2, it had been built on like a stream on a hill that ran down the hill. So there were rumours going around that the school were actually sliding down the hill. 3, because of where it had been built, you couldn't have playgrounds because you'd be kicking a ball around. The ball would go down the hill to the school below, right? So what they had to do was build tennis courts. And we were like in these tennis courts every time we went to play out, right? That were basically where all the school used to go at playtime and things, because we did still call it playtime then, you know what I mean? Right, so that were another drawback. Part of the drawback of having curtains everywhere as well were fire doors, right? Where's the fire doors? There aren't fire doors between each classroom. There's only fire doors at the end of each bay. Right, so there'd be 3 classrooms, maybe 4 classrooms actually, a shared area for your year, and then no doors on that whole area, just one door leading out to the stairwell and up to the stairs to the next year and stuff, right? So that were a bit of a problem, you know, of hippies designing the school. But also, they designed it for who the kids they thought were going to come to this school were is a complete mystery to me, right? It certainly weren't the kids that were going there, right? So I think I've done my foundation about as well as I'm going to do it today. Like I say, I want a light coverage. I'll probably be able to get one more usage out of this, you know, before I actually have to bin it. But that'll have to do for today. I only want a daytime look, ever. Right, so next up, I'm going to put some blusher on. And I got this in a subscription box. It's by Medusa's Makeup. It's really pretty and quite shiny. Oh, most of it's come out of the underneath look. I quite like it because I'm going to use the bit out of the lid, actually. And I'm going to use the mirror out of this compact that's got finger marks on it. So, yeah, so they designed this school as if it were going to be in this high sort of class area. Right, oh, this is quite light. Let me see if I can get some of this built up. This sort of much more, that is very, very subtle, I have to say. Might be showing up better on camera, but, you know, to me, it feels like I'm not putting out on. Never mind, it'll match my blooming foundation, won't it, next to note. So, they built it as if they were in this high-class area, because in every classroom, carpets, right? Every classroom had carpets and a curtain, right? Well, we lived on a council estate, and the kids that went to that school lived on one of 2 council estates for the most part. People who were not well off, you know what I mean, right? Now, oh my goodness, look at that on my forehead. What am I doing? Right, this actually feels more like an highlighter than a blusher. I'm not going to put any highlighter on because this actually feels like one, you know. Just put a bit down there. So yeah, they must have thought that these kids that were going there, or they had no comprehension of who the kids were that were going to go there. My face looks very shiny now, I've put that on. Never mind, I'll remember next time that although it says blush, mineral blush, it is actually probably more like a highlighter. Anyway, that'll have to do. So, yeah, they thought these kids were like really well off. They weren't. So everybody had school clothes to go to school in. You didn't have to wear uniform. It wasn't compulsory back in the day, you know what I mean? Some kids wore uniform. It was navy blue. So some kids wore uniform, some kids didn't. But you'd go to school in your shoes. And because there were carpets inside this school, they used to make you take your shoes off and change into indoor shoes, right? Most of the kids in this school could barely afford one pair of shoes. The families could barely afford one pair of shoes. The idea that they would have indoor shoes were just a joke, you know, that you'd need 2 pairs of shoes to go to school in. Plus your pumps for playing, you know, for like PE and stuff like that. Right, so next up, I'm going to try and draw my eyebrows on, and I'm going to use this Lancome eyebrow pencil, which, because I've just found my sharpener, I've managed to sharpen. So I'll try and put some brows on. Okay, so when kids used to come into the school, they had to take the shoes off, irrespective of whether they'd got a pair of indoor shoes, which meant that you'd get kids walking around in socks all the time on a school day, which were great for them, because when you sat across the hall, which were like, you know, had a, like, you know, like a shiny floor, they'd be skidding. It were like, again, to skidding your socks across the floor. Now, my mother had managed to provide us with a pair of indoor and outdoor shoes. How she'd done it is a mystery to me, because we were, you know, poor as church mice. But, yeah, she'd managed to buy us a pair of indoor shoes and outdoor shoes. So we always changed into indoor shoes when we left this, you know, when we got into the school. Right, I'm trying to concentrate on this brow, because I never make them matching, do I? So anyway, so she provided us with a pair of indoor and outdoor shoes. Now, the other problem with this school, better tell you this. So the music room were right next door, the kitchens. Now, they always cooked school dinners on the premises. And the school dinners used to be all right, actually, you know, not like horrible school dinners. Some of them used to be nice. Apart from tapioca and flipping, what's that other stuff that looks like wallpaper paste? Semolina. Couldn't stand those. But anyway, frog spawn and wallpaper paste, we used to call those. But aside from that, they used to have quite nice dinners. And we used to, you know, and so the school cooked those dinners. What am I doing with these brows? They look massive. Why do I always make them so big when I come on camera? I think it's because I'm not concentrating on them. Right, I'm going to wipe a bit off the top of that one, try and rub it out. I don't know what they look like. This one looks really curved and this one looks really blocky. Oh dear, I don't know. Rub a bit out from underneath, Kim. Be right. So I don't know if they even match, but they're going to have to do for now. When I get off camera, I'll try and rectify the damage, you know what I mean? Anyway, next up, I'm going to put on this, some of this eyeshadow. It's by Steve Laron, is it? Steve Laron. I've never used it before. I've only ever swatched it on my channel. So it's got these really sort of orangey colours in. So I'm dying to give it a go, see if I can make it work for me, because these aren't the colours that I would normally go for. And as always, I'm using my £2 Savers brushes, which I've cleaned. That one's slightly stained, but they're both clean anyway. So I'm going to use one of them. And what colour am I going for? I think I'm going to go for this lightest shimmer colour in this corner. Doesn't have a name. Or if it does, it's on back in white writing and I can't read it. Right, so the music room had been soundproofed and put next to away from all the classrooms. Somebody had thought that one out, right? They put the soundproofed music room at the end, you know, in the hall and next to the kitchens. Okay. And yeah, so that nobody in the classrooms would be able to hear from the music room. Okay, so that's the background to this school that I were at. I mean, some of the teachers in there were absolutely nuts. The head teacher, the first head teacher, were like a little old wrinkly tortoise with a, you know, his wrinkly neck, and it used to like come up and stuff. Mr. Bartholomew, he were called. And then I think the other teacher, I can't remember the other head teacher. I want to call him Mr. West, but I'm aware that might be, I'm thinking Fred West, you know what I mean? Anyway, right, I can't remember his name. Second head teacher that we had, he were mad as a box of frogs. I once saw him hit a student quite severely. Anyway, right, and he were young as well and a proper hippie. First day of school he ever rocked up, he came into all playing his guitar and singing, I'll sing you la la, green grow the rushes. Oh, all kids looking at each other like, all right, okay, we've got a madden here. Anyway, right, so that's the background to this story. So this one particular day, I'm in the, I want to say I was in the second year. Yeah, well, my sister were in the fourth year, so the last year of the school, I were in the second year. And the fire alarm went off. Now, on this day, it had snowed, right? And the snow were really slushy on the outside of the school. So everybody gets up. I'm in my form class. We all get up and walk out of the building to congregate in the tennis courts, which were the plan for if there were a fire, right? Half the kids in socks, no shoes, because you can't go get your shoes, your coats, nothing. Half the kids file out in socks, right? So we're all standing around freezing in the tennis courts, waiting for the classes to, you know, all the classes to come out, having a register taken and stuff. Then we see, so I start looking around. I think, where's my sister? Where's my sister? Right. Can't see her anywhere amongst all these kids. Not at all, right? Right, so next up, so I've put that on all over my lid and on inside under my eye, like I always do. Now I'm going to use, do you know what? I'm going to go for this really dark colour here and see how that works out for me, see if I can make that work. So I'll just try a little bit on it first and put it in my crease. And on the sort of the line at the outside of my eye here, where my eyelashes are, don't know what you call that, is there a technical term for that? My eyelid. Just on the outside of my eyelid. Okay, so I'm looking around, cannot see my sister at all, or any of the kids in her class. Turns out my sister is in the music room next to the kitchen, which is set on fire, in a soundproof room, right? A soundproofed room next to the kitchen. They had no idea the fire alarm had gone off at all. None at all. They're carrying on with their lesson inside this school, which is now absolutely on fire, properly on fire. We see this teacher, whose name was Mr. Dewhurst, run down with a fire extinguisher, right? And a couple of other teachers. I've got to tell you about Mr. Dewhurst as well. Everybody fancied Mr. Dewhurst. He was games teacher, boys games teacher. Everybody fancied him, including Mr. Dewhurst, you know what I mean? It looked a bit like a skinny Magnum, you know what I mean? Magnum PI. You know, not an ice cream Magnum, obviously. He had like a big full-on tash, curly hair and stuff. Honestly, he proper fancied himself, and all lassies used to fancy him. I don't think I ever did, if I'm honest, but I did know that all lassies fancied him. You know, all sort of older girls. I'm sure 9-year-olds couldn't care less, you know what I mean? Right, I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to try and blend it out with a clean brush. Right, see if these will blend. I'm not sure about them, to be honest. So we see Mr. Dewhurst run down to where fire is with an actual fire extinguisher. This is when we realise there's an actual fire and it wasn't just a fire, you know, sort of practice, he runs down there. We could hear all sorts of stuff going on down there, but we couldn't see out because we're in tennis courts. So, yeah, I'm still feverishly looking out for my sister, trying to tell this teacher, my sister's class are out, my sister's class are out, right? They're complete next to the fire, completely oblivious. By this time, the school hall is filling with smoke, right? And everybody's been evacuated from the kitchen. And just one or two teachers have stupidly taken it upon themselves to try and put out this fire. And my sisters and all her class is still sitting in the music room, completely oblivious. My sister said it were only when the teacher, whose name was Miss Merritt, realised that she could see Mr. Dewars going past the window with soot on him that she realised, oh my God, something's happened. By this point, she opens the door to the music room and smoke fills the room immediately. So she's got to evacuate my sister's class through the school hall, which is full of smoke, because then it wouldn't have crossed their mind to get everybody down on their hands and knees and get out that way. You know, they just sort of file out through all smoke. And eventually my sister's class appear in the school, well, the schoolyard, the tennis courts. Honestly, I've never been so relieved to see her because me and my sister used to fight like cat and dog. Right, I was never that relieved to see her on best of times, you know what I mean? Because I knew she'd actually, you know, she used to frighten me half to death, honestly. I'll tell you one brief story. What she used to do on a night time, when we were in bed, right? There were two stories, actually. One time, she used to say to me, she said to me, we'll buy some sweets, we'll put pocket money and we'll have a midnight feast. So we did. We put them in this old sweetie jar that we'd got. And so we go to bed. Every time, she's the one with the clock, right? I kept saying to her, is it midnight yet? No. Is it midnight yet? No. Is it midnight yet? Eventually, obviously, I fall asleep. I wake up the next morning. She scoffed all the sweets, all of them, including mine. She said, well, you weren't awake at midnight, right? And it were only afterwards that I realised she were waiting for me to fall asleep before she ate all these sweets. It had been a ploy all the time. And another time, because she knew I was afraid at dark, she used to like swing her legs out of bed and walk towards me with her hands out, looking like, you know, sort of starry-eyed. Get within 2 inches of me, by which time I'm screaming, you know what I mean, against the wall, cowering. And then she'd turn round and get back into bed. I used to wait for her to go to sleep. I used to be absolutely petrified. I daren't honestly go to sleep. I'm just about to put this on. I haven't told you what I'm putting on. So next up, I'm putting on this Monsieur by Lancome mascara that I got in me Look Incredible, my secret box. I absolutely love it. It's one of my new favourites. So yeah, so all these poor kids are standing around in the tennis courts, in the socks. My sister and her classmates covered in soot, you know what I mean, and smoke and everything. They were all right, you know, because it had only been a short walk to get out at the school hall. But still, I mean, thank goodness that Mr. Dewars did go down in a ridiculous attempt to fight this chip pan fire in the, you know, school kitchen, because otherwise my sister's class could have been fried. Anyway, we heard the fire brigade turning up and everything. They sent 2 pumps. So they all rock up. They took the register and sent us all home. Right, so once they realised they'd got all these kids out, that there were nobody left in the school, they sent us all home. You can imagine, right, how many kids were in this school? Let me think. There were 30 in a class, 3 classes to a year. So what's that? 12 classes, 360 kids. Half of whom only had socks on their feet, had to walk home in the snow in the socks, right? Nobody had any shoes, because nobody, when these hippies had built this school, right, it had not occurred to them that, one, that smoke would travel through a curtain as opposed to a door. You know, fire would travel through a curtain as opposed to a door. And it never occurred to any of the staff in the school that if you make kids take their shoes off and then there is a fire, they're going to be evacuating in the socks, even if it snowed. I mean, even me and my sister were frozen solid because we had indoor shoes on, like probably a pair of Plims, you know, like plimp soles or something. And we had to walk home in those. Nobody had any coats or out. But like I say, probably about 180 kids had to walk home in socks because nobody had any shoes on. Right. Anyway, after that, the school were closed for a couple of weeks because the thing is, the smoke had travelled as well, right? So it caused more damage to classrooms than it would have done had there been, you know, doors on every room. They could have shut the doors. Thank goodness it didn't spread any further than that because the whole school could have gone down. Like I say, there were hardly any fire doors anywhere in this school. But yeah, everybody's coats were locked into the school, everybody's shoes. So I don't know what all these kids without indoor shoes did for the whole time that the school was shut. I know we had like shoes to put on, but they weren't really winter shoes. And so the school were closed for about a week, maybe longer than that. It might have been a fortnight. Right, next up I'm going to put a bit of lippy on. And it's called Scandal. I don't know which by, I can't see. Oh no, it's Bare Minerals. I'm lying, right? Bare Minerals. I love this lipstick. It's like a liquid lip, but it dries and stays on really well, so I love it. Okay, so it looks like this, look. Can you see that? So I'm just going to put a bit out on. When the school finally opened again, because the kitchen had completely been burnt out. What am I doing with this? God, I've got a lumpy bottom lip. So the school kitchen had been completely burnt out. So we were having school dinners brought in from like a rival school at first. The school down the road that were called Wood End. Their kitchen were providing us with dinners for the first sort of week or so. And after that, I think one at high school started sending us in dinners, which we didn't like because we didn't get any choice. They were providing us with one dinner, you know, per person. Nobody liked those dinners. Well, we used to getting a choice. So I've sort of covered my lips. I don't know how straight they are, but anyway, that's that's gonna have to do. I didn't mind this. Try to put that back on. I don't mind this, you know. Actually, I don't know what it looks like, but I actually don't mind. It's a bit more orangey than I would normally go for, but now I've got it, I'm quite liking it, you know. So anyway, that's gonna have to be my daytime look for today. But yeah, right. So when the school reopened, no lessons were learned at all from that. Still, every kid that came in were in socks that didn't have a pair of indoor shoes. Although I suspect some parents really made the effort to get the kids some indoor shoes, given that the kids had to walk home in socks in the snow. Of course, there's no way of phoning parents then, you know, most parents didn't have a telephone, you know, and you couldn't have phoned them from the tennis courts anyway, and we still had classrooms with a curtain on. Honestly, it were absolutely crackers. So no lessons learned at all. They just readed out the kitchen and started again as if it had never happened. You know, the music room was still soundproofed and everything. When I left there, when I were about 13, you know, and I went to school with doors on, it was so nice. I can't even tell you. Because I remember being quite worried after that about these curtains and the fact that if a fire started in one classroom, all of us would be affected. But also, it was just lovely being able to concentrate in a class. No wonder I didn't do so well at school, you know what I mean? Actually, I did really well at that school, but when I went to high school, started thinking about boys and didn't do so well. But I think, you know, I'd been sort of seriously hindered by my lack of concentration at my middle school, because it was really, really hard to concentrate. I mean, it's hard for kids to concentrate anyway, but it was particularly hard when all you've got between you and the next class is a curtain, you know what I mean? Anyway, so that's my story about when the school caught fire. My sister were absolutely fine. They were all absolutely fine. Nobody got injured or anything, although my Mr. Dewars sort of, his ego was slightly dented after the incident because he hadn't been able to put out this fire. But I think that was the only injury. But that's everything for today. If you've liked this video, please give us a like. It really helps us out. And if you like this kind of content, you might want to consider subscribing. I've left all my contact details in the description box in case you want to contact me for any reason. But thank you very much for taking a few moments out of your day to spend with me. Bye!